I just wanted to see your face. Hello, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy. I am joined today by my interviewer and co-host, Rhianna. I knew that I could completely
I'm
catch
glad
you
that the camera wasn't on. My eyes went, what? I was unprepared.
Your eyes went out and your mouth went in.
Oopsies.
So what are we doing here today, Rhianna?
So I am interviewing you with questions I wrote really quickly because I didn't realize what time it was. So. Super professional. But we wanted to just kind of give a Q&A style introduction to the world of Tellest and Michael D'Angelo as an author, and also a good-looking husband.
Yay!
All right, so first, give the people a snapshot into young Michael D'Angelo. What was the initial spark for Tellest, and do you remember a moment when the name Tellest clicked?
So, I mean, when we're talking young, are we talking, prior to Tellest? And,
the first time that the world that you invented in your head, kind of, even before the name of Tellest, when did the storyline hit?
I'm sure that we talked about this story before, but I don't think that it hurts to hear kind of the rehashes and stuff like that. So I had originally gotten the perfect kind of intersection of imaginary avenues at the same time. I had gotten a book from my aunt, which was R.A. Salvatore's The Thousand Orcs, and right around the same time I got Baldur's Gate 2. And in Baldur's Gate 2, you had the ability to write a profile for your character or characters, like a biography. And at some point, I had thought, I'm just going to write a real quick biography about whatever character. And back then, it was every character was myself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what a young 17-year-old boy would do.
Right. So very much in Baldur's Gate, you could import your own character portraits and stuff like that. So if it wasn't Mad Mardigan, it was a picture of me. It was a picture of Kev. It was a picture of Kieran. Stuff like that. So so I had 2 pages of biography, and I decided to expand that to an actual story. I don't think that the name Tellest came up until I was well, why am I setting this in the D&D universe? It should be my own. I've got all these ideas, let's flesh them out.
You went the way of fan fiction turned original story.
Right.
Essentially.
And I don't know why the name Tellest, to be perfectly honest. After all this time, I have zero idea why that name. I'm sure there was some lore to it back then, but at this point it's when you hear a word so many times that it loses all of its meaning. Tellest is just its own thing now at this point.
Tell us more. How does having a world inside your head make you feel while you're living your daily life? For the people, sorry I can't do dishes, there's a castle siege going on? Or, do you compartmentalize when you think about it?
Oh, no, I'm always thinking about it. But I do want to step back for a second and go, why are you asking questions like that?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Hold on. I want to do an impression of you. How does having a world inside your head make you feel while living?
You are making fun of me, and I am helping you out, sir. Sir.
But are you enjoying yourself?
Sir, sure. We always have fun.
Let me read it again.
No!
Not out loud.
He's in trouble.
I actually like doing the dishes because it helps me to conceptualize the castle
It's supposed to be a joke. I'm being funny.
You're being facetious.
A bit.
I very much cannot stop thinking about it pretty much ever. And unfortunately, you'd figure with the kind of offshoots that we've kind of introduced to the world, it doesn't make it easier. It makes it so that every time that I'm working on something, my head goes, all right, how can I think about books right now? I can't think about books right now. How can I think about maps right now? Is there a sync with dishes in the map? It goes a little nuts. And when I'm driving, if I'm listening to music, typically I'm going from the music to how can I extrapolate this into a scene in the Tellest universe. But I mean, I certainly enjoy it. That's probably the reason that I don't typically listen to talk radio or anything, because there's no quote unquote value for it,
right.
Because I'll just be listening to something and then my brain will kind of turn off, and I don't like that turn off feeling.
Yeah, I don't like that either. The maddening silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you miss your spot?
I did.
Yeah.
I'm not a very practiced interviewer.
Yeah. We had 2 viewers and we lost one.
Well, that's understandable. I think I'm the one viewer. Oh well. You've branched off of the original Child of the Stars series by exploring the origins of different characters, and that has led to their own trilogies, essentially creating a new timeline of events. What has been your favorite origin story to play with, and why?
Well, I really do like writing the Adelia stories because I know that I'm writing to a very particular person. I feel like I got very much rewarded by having you in my life. So, sappy. So I definitely do like to kind of pay it backward and, write a story that I think that you would enjoy, and I hope that you've enjoyed them.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, the Kelvin stories are actually pretty fun because both of those books, Heart of the Forest and Silver Serpent Chronicles, are very different than the stuff that I typically do. And then The April's Fools isn't really an origin story, but it is kind of...
It's an ensemble origin.
It's an ensemble with characters that we had not met before. Like,
right.
prior to you and I meeting, Frederick the April was not even an idea. Bixby Aladocious was not even an idea. So it is very cool to see that kind of idea blossom from nothing into something really cool. The April's Fools is really, besides Kayonani, I think the first real story that we have from scratch that we've introduced into the world of Tellest since 2003 or whatever it is.
It's been a while.
Yep.
Artwork is a large part of making the world of Tellest what it is. Does the way that an artist portrays a character impact how you view them, or like what weapons and powers they have?
Yeah, to some extent, I think that we've seen a couple of people interpret characters in ways that I haven't expected, and it does take me down to like those other avenues. Maybe not so much with the characters themselves, because typically when we're seeing a character kind of evolve from like a crumb of an idea into pictures, it's for the first time. I think more often than not it happens with like the artifacts. Like we've got that artist from the Ukraine who very much has a distinct style and one that really kind of leans into the craziness of everything. And I think that we've started to lean into that a little bit more as well. And I guess that kind of proves your point. Like, we eventually do kind of bend to the idea that, okay, this person has, left their mark on the world, and it's indelible in some cases. What?
What's the matter, Dougie?
You've been so good.
You have been so good, and now you're all talky?
Are you sound checking us?
She is. She's definitely doing her job.
So that would that would be my answer to that one.
Is there any artist that you currently work with that you're excited to work with more, or is there any new artists that you're excited to work with in the future?
So there are three artists at this point who I work with pretty regularly at this point. I feel like if the budget was a little looser, I would be dumping all of my money into these three. Right. So Stephen Belshaw is the guy who's doing most of our treasure artwork and like our concept art and pieces like that. So like if you've seen treasures or like the herbs or stuff like that, these are all things that you and I are able to talk about, but no one's really seeing on the internet or anything because I'm at like a 3-year like ahead of time schedule. So
yep.
So Steven is doing that kind of
Patreon.
stuff. Steven also is the one who did the Ligomorphs.
I love the Ligomorphs.
He does a really good job with the artwork that we have. We've got Barn Swallow, who's done a couple of our character pieces, which you can see on this screen. So like Catelyn, Azura, Alora, she does like a lot of like the pinup stuff that we have now. So like absolutely ridiculous. She does the portrait pictures that we've been getting lately. So I really like working with her, and I've worked with her for probably the longest out of these three. We also have Warren Zuen Lee, who is my most prolific character artist at this point, and a lot of the characters that you see on here are ones that he's done. Would you like to contribute?
Yeah, do you want to be included? Do you want to be interviewed, Luna?
Yes I do. I'm coming right over to interrupt.
That's going on the TikTok for sure. Hi, baby.
Hello, are you squished? You seem very squished.
This wasn't one of my questions, but since we're looking at it, this could easily be like a Tellest version of Guess Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play that.
Should we make a Tellest Guess Who? Is that what...
I think so.
All right, so that is...
It's on the list.
It's on the list of things to do.
Officially. I think that another awesome thing about the artwork and like the different styles too is we already have the Tellest art book that like kind of shows some of the behind the scenes, like the sketch art of where things like
the inception of the
idea and like how things evolved and how we get to like pick and choose poses and things like that. I am very excited for a project that we had talked about doing at one point, which would be like the Tellest Encyclopedia, like the World Encyclopedia. Well, because there's so much like visually to add to that.
So I will say that we are getting closer and closer with things like World Anvil, which I just happened to have up just because I thought like it would be like a good resource as we were talking. There are things that you can do, like you can go into the front page and then go to like the races of Tellest, and you can click on various things. Right now, I'm barely keeping up with it just because there's so many things that I need a Michael clone.
Yeah, that's a lot of homework there.
Yeah.
You need an executive assistant.
I so do. I'll pay you when we win the lottery.
I am all for that. I will have a stay at home and work on the encyclopedia. That is a nerd's dream.
There you go. Yeah, so we do have. It's very close to an encyclopedia. It's the World Anvil, but I kind of consider it the Tellest Bible.
Very cool. We're about halfway through my questions. If you'd like to cut to the sponsor.
Yeah, let's cut to our sponsor. He's a good guy, and we want to hear him do his thing. And now, a word from our sponsors. Eager to show that you can write an excellent book without following too closely to established tropes, new author Albert T. Franklin turns readers into fans with his debut, Searching for Zen, A Tale of Divine Destiny. Join Zen, a boy with an incredible gift who is bound to shape the form of humanity for ages to come. Franklin weaves a captivating story around this powerful being and endears Zen to many people who are integral to his life. A fellowship is created that will be one for the ages and one that readers will love to root for. If you're looking for an uplifting fantasy that outshines the darkness, look no further. Check out our promo for Searching for Zen, A Tale of Divine Destiny on the Tellest website today. And we're back. Hi there.
Hi.
You got lost. You forgot that you were supposed to interview me. Oh, man.
I'm not so good at the co-hosting, but I try.
You're getting better every day.
Doubtful, but that's okay.
It took me a long time to be like a quote-unquote serviceable resource for Kev for his shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you have a very I mean, I guess it was learned with Kev as well, but like you have a very personable voice and you're comfortable speaking to like the air, I think.
I definitely had to learn that second part, but I think the comfortable like voice thing was probably from customer service. So 10 years of that and one day of yelling at someone who really deserved it.
Just one whoopsie-daisy.
Mm-hmm. So anyway,
you have invited me to write in Tellest as an author and entrusted me with inspiring characters and events. Thank you. The tagline for Tellest is "The world is in your hands." So we already touched on like the Tellest guide, but what sort of determines like who you work with, as part of Tellest? Like where does that trust get built?
So, I mean, it helps to have a wife who would beat you up if you didn't let her share in the world. So
facts.
I mean, you and I, we've known very early on, that we have a very similar imagination. It's something that vibes really well. So I don't think that there was any question about whether or not you and I could have worked together. I don't know if you'd be able to confirm. No, I guess we can confirm this. So you kind of wrote your story, and then Aaron wrote his story. So Aaron Canton is the first other author besides Nace and Kevin, because Kevin contributed stories that didn't quite make it into Tales of Tellest or anything like that, and Nace has kind of one in each of the Tales of Tellest books so far. I mean, those are just because they were integral to the process of creating a lot of the world. Because they made recommendations, they edited, they were like the beta reader, that kind of stuff.
Right.
We do have, I think, just one other author who's contributed stories, and it was just, again, kind of a similar situation to Aaron, where it was, okay, there's a lot of overlap in the kind of things that we enjoy, so the style really doesn't have to be like metered as much as
Right.
you would have to do with someone who you were just hiring because you needed the work done. Like, I knew that Aaron could do the work because he had submitted a story to us that felt very in line with what we were enjoying. And then the same thing with Valina. She liked a lot of the same pop culture and everything like that. And I knew that it would translate into, okay, this is going to sound good.
Right. Because I know that, like, the only kind of, not that it's well, I guess it is kind of a hard no, but like things that are too modern, like things that don't fit the Tellest brand, like it has to make sense within the fantasy world.
Right.
But I know that like we've even had conversations of like, well, what could, what could make sense in Tellest? Like, we have like the sort of steampunkiness is modern in a sense, but at the same time, like, I don't think you would shoot down the idea of like a hot air balloon much as you would an airplane or
right. Well, so I think that there's the goal, I think, ultimately is to open the door to some of those ideas, not necessarily an airplane in the way that you would see it like flying across the tall skyline or anything, but
it still has to be the fantasy genre.
Right. But there would be a way to integrate it into the Tellest universe by way of like a Chronicles of Narnia kind of experience, where you have someone from our world who crosses over that threshold some way, and we are kind of working our way towards it.
A portal fantasy.
Yes, an isekai.
An isekai.
So like that's always been in the mind. At some point, it will kind of cross over into science fantasy, because we do know that during the events of the fall, there were elves and humans and maybe dwarves who weren't on the world anymore, because with magic comes a lot of interesting plot devices that you can run with. And when the ritual happened, we've already seen it in the case of the warp elves, where they were off planet, off world, and then when they couldn't get back, they ended up becoming kind of this primal destructive force instead of the fair, good, knowledgeable people that we expect the elves to be in a lot of fantasy universes.
Right. So that kind of ties into another one of my questions. We've talked about various timelines for Tellest since its inception. Do you think there's a potential to expand Tellest into additional timelines and alternate universes? And what would be a genre that you'd like sort of as a playground, and what characters would you like to throw in there?
Well, so I think that primarily we have the three timelines right now. We have the one that we're currently working in with. At this point, I'm very happy with it. Like, at some point in any of the timelines that I've worked in, I've been like, this sucks. Like, I don't like this. But I'm very happy with the way that we've kind of pushed forward with the characters that we have. And I think that there is a world that exists, our world, that exists in a place where you can have a multiverse kind of tapestry where the kind of timelines intersect and intertwine and things like that. And I very much would like to see like the multiple variations of Chaos Cregan. And then anybody who has anything to really do with time should kind of affect that wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey kind of feel.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, so I definitely think Rhys is going to be kind of a component of that, because he's kind of stuck out of time at this point. And then we do know that Adelia is kind of like the arbiter of, hey, this is what did happen, this is what didn't happen.
Right, because of the ancestral kind of aspect to her power.
Yep, so I would like to see perhaps Rhys and Adelia at some point connect.
That would be awesome.
Yep. We do know that Nersha, who we see down here, she's an integral part of the timeline, because she is kind of like the embodiment of the void, which is, you know, like the avatar
between.
of time.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can't go too far without her. And we kind of saw in the Quantum Quest novelization that the void kind of at least does various things to other points in time as well, because we've seen heroes, quote unquote, from other points in Tellest's timelines who are not part of the big three show up in Quantum Quest. And it really wasn't a corporeal thing until Quantum Quest's novelization happened.
Right.
Like at that point, it was just a little playground idea, and then it became this whole thing of, well, if it's happening in this world that Reese is interconnecting with,
right,
what else does that mean? And we've also seen, at least in that book, a version of Alicia Maine, which, to the best of our knowledge, doesn't happen in any of the three timelines, or does it, and is it in the future of one of them?
And that's also confusing because you and I also have, like, we've had so many conversations about what the characters are gonna do, right, but it doesn't exist for the world yet. Like, we know, like, it's canon already, but it doesn't, like, take place in a story quite yet. So that's fun.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about, like event stories and things like that, because we definitely want to kind of treat the trilogies as, like, your Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, or your Captain America 1, 2, and 3, but then you want to have those kind of Avengers feeling stories that kind of marry the ideas together. I
want to, like, fan fiction / like holodeck episode, a scenario where, like, Lucinda is in Victorian London-esque thing with, like, a whodunit murder mystery. It's like a sleuth detective kind of thing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of potential for, like, a lot of the characters to have fun in those. What's his name? Is it Maravik? The
Dreamwalker?
The Dreamwalker?
Yep.
Like, this is just an idea. This is what we play with. We play with what if. But, like, the Dreamwalker having a sort of, like, I'm gonna put you in a world outside of what you're typically used to, kind of a little spin-off would be really fun.
Yep. It doesn't have to be Maravik either, because we do know at the end of Arise that there's a bad guy with Maravik's power set who can do the same thing.
That's true.
So
the Nightmare Man. Hey. Projects like fantasy writing prompts, Quantum Quest, and even our children's book, How to Be a Wizard, now available on Amazon, great gift for Easter baskets, are all under the Tellest umbrella.
How do you do that so well?
I did it well. That's nice.
And Weird Witch Wands.
Witch Wands, my handcrafted wands, they're all under the Tellest umbrella. What do you look forward to adding to the Tellest brand in the next 10 years or so?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello to Pickledorf, who says you're having dinner with us, and I appreciate us being along for the ride.
What are we having?
Yeah, what are we eating? We had French onion soup earlier today. Homemade French onion soup, and that was really good. It was
a lot of work.
And while we're waiting for Matthew to respond, so one of the big projects, obviously, is Tower Sphere. So I'm very excited to bring Tower Sphere to life, because the first game is kind of like a one-off. But the second one is it proves that you've got, like, the ideas, and it wasn't just a fluke or something like that.
Right.
And Matt says pizza, garlic knots, fries, and chalky milk.
Oh, chalky milk's the winner.
Chalky milk brings it all together.
Oh yeah, we'll be having that later.
So Tower Sphere is the big one. I definitely. You know me, I like sequels to everything. So once I start with something, I like to continuously, expand on it. So I really want the second children's book.
I know. I'm working on it.
At FanExpo, I want to, for the last time, bring up the blue box for the Quantum Quest game and get things moving on, getting that Kickstarter up and running. And I think, like, we've kind of tried with other projects, and there's certain ones where it's like, all right, like, we gave it a good college try, but I really want to, once we have a bigger budget, try and give things like a fresh start. I very much would like to try and get Merge Dungeon off the ground again, because even on computer, like, if you're playing it, it gets so addicting.
It's very addicting.
If you have it on your phone, I'm pretty sure we could conquer the world.
It would definitely be in the App Store, like, immediately popular, I think, because
Yep.
it is a very fun
Yep.
game with a lot of fun, like, music and art design and everything.
Yep. I definitely think that that ideas like that, and I have like a whole folder on my computer of like all the different games that I would make, and now I guess Tellest Guess Who is one of them.
Well, we were even playing card games the other day, talking about, you know, like how to further the idea of like making kind of a, like, putting a fantasy Tellest spin on games that are fun to play at a party.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like just a bejeweled but cooler.
Yeah, Jill wants. So Matt's wife wants
Bejeweled.
a game that's
Right,
like
right.
Bejeweled but cooler. And Matt, I have that in my list of games that I want to make.
Nerix.
A Matt. Well, that's a different one.
Why is that different? That could be the same thing.
No, Bejeweled is not that. Bejeweled. Narix's game is the Diggy game.
Yeah, but it's got gems. Remember?
Just because it
Ooh,
has
piece of ruby. That's what you say.
Oh, piece of ruby.
See, that's the voice. That's the one.
Oh, that's what Merge Dungeon is to her. I gotcha. Completely different as well. But I have an idea for a Bejeweled but cooler, and it's the idea of when Adelath is being built, you have a game that's like Bejeweled, and you have the knights, you know, of Virtue, the 8 people who are making the city, gathering the material, and then like you get to upgrade the city with your winnings for your stages.
I think the ultimate measure of success will be if Tellest makes it to a casino game, like a slot machine, because I feel like that could definitely work.
I want to do that.
That would be awesome. I miss casinos. Remember when we had money? That was fun. Nope, never. Never remember that. Let's see. What advice would you give to artists and authors who are trying to get started in world building?
I mean, I think every idea starts with that little seedling. So I think that, you know, there's a lot of people who the first idea is the one that they never get off the ground. Either because they're too scared, they're worried that they're going to fail, they are concerned with the way that it's going to be a bigger project that you know they don't think that they can handle, and I think that you need to get over it.
Very sound advice.
I think that don't let the idea of something being, you know, a frightening idea scare you away from doing something that you might really enjoy. Now, it is a lot of work if you're going to be building a world like Tellest, which is immense.
Right.
You know,
it's got continents.
It encompasses all the corners. Hey, we got continents.
There you go.
It encompasses so much, but I mean, first, number one, your story doesn't have to have
that scale.
It could be something small, and then if you decide that you want to scale it up, maybe have, you know, like that door cracked slightly ajar so that, hey, I have this idea. If I really wanted to, could I push the door open or peel the curtain back a little bit and do that much more with things? There are those possibilities, but I do think that everybody really has an idea in the back of their head. We have Matt on the chat right now, and he's one of the people who's constantly said, "Oh, I'm not creative," and he does maps better than I do.
He's got vision.
Yep. So I think number one, don't be afraid. Number two, don't sell yourself short, because there is something that you're good at. When it comes to world building, you know, you might just not know what it is yet.
Sound advice.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have World Anvil up, like, would you recommend, so like a lot of these tools didn't become available until later, and like AI is a tool that's available now to like a wider population of people who like may not have the starting budget to even get artwork for stuff. So would you recommend like those kind of resources early on, or do you think that's kind of limiting in a sense?
I think that a lot of times in this day and age, humans feel like they're supposed to be social creatures, but I feel like we're kind of withdrawing to the shadows. We're becoming shadow people.
We're all creepy.
And I think that, Matt, I will respond to you in a second. I just don't want to lose track of this thought. We are all shadow people. And I think that because of the way that the world is kind of changing and the way that we kind of withdraw within ourselves, for a lot of different ways, you know, money is not as fluid as it used to be. And we're also busy working 3 jobs and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that AI might not be the kind of tool that you necessarily need for cheating and like getting around things, but it's a nice way to kind of like talk to the wall and have the wall talk back. And I don't think that it's right to utilize. It's tough because I feel like eventually people are going to cross that lane where it's like, well, everybody's doing AI. I don't care if it's an ethical quandary.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, using AI to kind of like sketch out ideas is okay. Selling it as the final piece is not. So
Right.
it does get kind of tricky.
And right now it is very apparent when something is written by artificial intelligence, but it is scary to think of like in the next 5 years that being able to tell what's a human versus what is machine made is going to be very
Once AI gets
difficult.
fingers down.
I know, they're so bad at hands.
Pickledorf says, Jill says I'm artistic because me and Snoop Dogg hang out when I go to do those sort of things. And I don't understand the reference, but I love you and you're pretty.
Was it supposed to be Coop Dog?
It might be Coop
Their
Dog.
dog? I don't think, or he's being a silly.
What other questions do you have for me?
Oh, let's see here.
You forgot you were interviewing.
When are you gonna start working on my book?
Is that one of your stories or your questions? So I started to work on it, and then you said, "No, I need you to read the entire thing all the way through first."
I do need you to read it,
And
because I need you to see where like it's been written, like what stuff has been written and what still needs to be filled in. And I think that if you start writing off the bat, so many things on the back end are gonna fall apart.
it's possible. I am very much a plotzer, which is halfway in between a pantser and a plotter. But I will read your story. I just need to have a little bit of free time, and unfortunately, because again everybody's working 3 jobs.
It's true.
One of my jobs is the maps.
I'm working no jobs.
You do the wands.
I do the wands, and I'm trying to find a job.
And
which
you
is
were
a
doing
job.
a little bit of the children's book, and you wrote your story.
True.
See, what did I say about selling yourself short?
I do it all the time. It's part of my charm.
And one of the other things is, let's be honest, part of the streaming universe that I work on, which I'm really bad at right now, is I've been playing that one game downstairs for like 40 hours a week.
But now I have the songs memorized, and it's important to continue that.
It's important. It's a place of happiness and safety in my mind.
Just one last question. We are going to be at FanExpo in Philly coming up in early May.
Mm-hmm.
What are your kind of hopes and dreams and aspirations for that event?
What are your hopes and dreams? So I definitely want people to find your wands, because that'll keep us from being destitute.
They are handcrafted, very pretty.
That is number one. I want the people who have been following us with Quantum Quest to kind of get a refresher of that, because the idea is that day and date, when we go to the convention, that's when we're going to release the Kickstarter for that. It's been 5 years. We need to get that Kickstarter out there.
Right.
The only thing that stopped us from it before was the pandemic, and unless
that's just a little thing.
unless somebody screws another bat, I think we're okay.
Whoa!
Finally.
Watching too much South Park.
So I think I'm happy to get that kind of thing moving as well. And then I think, kind of looping back into the wands, I really want Jeff Ward to see
have a buggy wand.
a buggy wand. And I want the limbs to break off.
I got to figure out how to do that. We were talking about something with magnets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like having it do that. That
Yep.
would be so fun.
Aside from that, like, I just want to feel comfortable with it again, because the last time we went to a convention was 800 people.
It was very small.
And then when we went to FanExpo last year, it was only at like the creative table for Kev.
Right.
Which was very nice of him, but it really wasn't like the selling kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, it was more just sitting around, not necessarily like being able to introduce people to.
Yeah. And again, at this point, it's been 4 years. Right. So like I want to slide back into that and feel good about that. And maybe just introduce people to some of the new projects that we've been working on, because we didn't have the battle maps the last time.
The children's book.
The children's book is going to be brand new to people.
Anyone with kids who's nerdy, I think, like, it's a very, palatable price point. It's like a good gift.
Yep. Yeah, when we went last time, we had 2 tables, or did we get 3 tables and then we moved to 4? I can't remember if we...
I think we had 2 tables, and then we had we used an additional one because no one was there.
Well, it would have been an additional 2 because we had the corner caps.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was either 2 and we got the extra 2, or 3 and we got the extra 1.
Right.
And I think back then we had enough space, we had enough stuff to fill that space. We've only added to our stuff since then.
True.
So I definitely think that it'll be fun to show people what we've done in that gap. And it'll be fun to hear their feedback, whether or not they enjoy the things that we're unleashing into the world.
I am excited about having, this will be the first convention, the big convention with the wands, and I do think that it'll at least spark some conversations, because we've had the conversation before. With books, it's a little bit harder of a sell because you don't know necessarily what you're getting, but with art, it's immediate. You know exactly what it is. With a book, you have to kind of commit to, am I going to spend money on this to enjoy it? You don't know.
Right.
Versus yes, I absolutely know this. But if we can at least open up the conversations, I think we're going to have a whole...
Yeah.
We got to get bags of bushels of stuff for anyone with money.
What was that noise?
It was my air trying to go in and out of my lungs that don't work so good sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, a lot of the stuff that I've done previously is a big commitment where you can't see, am I going to like this? But I think...
Am I going to like the contents of a game? Am I going to like the contents of a book?
Right. But the maps and the wands, right off the bat, you can see whether or not,
And the posters have been historically decent sellers.
Well, no. No, they have not.
I think so.
I don't think so. I don't think that they ever have.
I disagree.
The art book and the art book at PhilCon did okay. We sold 2 or 3 copies of the art book, but we never really had a lot of posters. The most that we ever brought at one time was 4 posters. So at this point we have something like 24. So
true.
It'll be a little bit different of an experience. And I mean, we can sell them at a deep discount because we have so many of them now.
That's true.
So, it'll be interesting to see if that helps us to kind of sell a little bit. We have to figure out a happier way to sell those things.
And to display them. Yeah, I think that was a challenge before because it was just sort of flat on the table. But, we really have enough posters where we could have, more of a visual display.
Yeah.
Something kind of when you'd go into, what was that store at the mall where you would flip through the
Hot
poster?
Topic?
No, it was
FYE?
Yeah. Remember those days?
I remember those days.
Mamba?
Well, and there are definitely people who I've seen that have the portfolio that they lay on the table. We would just have to figure out how to do
display.
that. Yeah. And sometimes it might just be laminate sheets and a binder or something like that. And we would just need to find the binder that fits that size.
Yeah. We got a month.
Let's
do this.
Right around the corner. And Kev and I are working on a D&D supplement that we wanted out in the next 12 days. Well, we wanted to kickstart it in 12 days. So who knows if we'll have that ready. But the good news is that's a very small project. We wanted something small that we could just kind of throw out there and say, hey, if you have a D&D or any kind of tabletop project that you're playing with, this is a fun little thing that you could do on the side.
Right. Hi, Luna. Are you telling us it's time for chalky milk?
Is that what you're saying? Is there any other questions you would like to ask, Luna?
Why do you have to leave sometimes? Why can't you stay home with us all the time, Diddy?
Because it's so happy. It's such a happy feeling seeing your waggy tush when I do come home. Are you looking at me?
For anyone who doesn't know, she's on my lap right now. She's my little baby.
So Matt says, wish you could hear Reggie squeaking. Was Reggie squeaking because Luna was squeaking? While Matt is answering that, let's head over to our show closing screen. So on the screen right now, you should see... Oh, Matt says, just being Reggie. Well, that's just wonderful. So on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find Tellest goodness. Well, not all of them. I need to update this because we have Drive-Thru RPG, which has become a really nice spot to go for Tellest stuff. But you should see a lot of the places that you can find Tellest goodness out on the internet. The one that we were showing off early in the stream was Tellest.com, but you can also go to worldanvil.com/w/Tellest-Michael D'Angelo. That's a big mouthful. You can also just go to Tellest and find World Anvil through there.
Just Google it.
Just Google it. But you can't, because when you Google Tellest, it shows up with all this religious stuff.
Yeah, because of Tellest about on high.
Oh, thee that tellest. But a couple of the premium sites that you can go to that have a lot of our content is patreon.com/Tellest. That's where we post tabletop stuff on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and art stuff on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on the Etsy store, tellest.etsy.com, that is where you can find our jumbo map pads with our battle maps that we do on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and posters, and the art book, and Rhianna's magic wands, all that good stuff. Speaking of Rhianna's magic wands, you can find her videos for those on tiktok.com/@weirdwitchwands. She just sold another one today.
Ooh,
and
I was sad, happy about it.
It was bittersweet.
When my babies go away, so sad.
Matt said, "We are going to go hate the outdoors." Well, I hate that you're leaving us, but I'm glad that you spent some time with us. Love you. One of the other cool things about your wands is you've got like 32 of them in the works ahead of
I do.
Comic-Con.
There's so many. They look like weird blobs on sticks when I first started, and then somehow like there's a moment where the magic happens.
The wands currently look like they're doused in chocolate, and
It's true.
I get hungry looking at them. Ooh, a chocolate Dalek. So you can look at that TikTok. The other TikTok with our second co-host, you can find tiktok.com/@TalesOfTellest. That is where you can see our doggies acting a fool. And the other two places that you should bring your attention to are youtube.com/@WorldOfTellest. This video is likely one that you found on YouTube, and we drop our Talking Tellests every Thursdays, and we're getting back into the swing of dropping the map videos on Fridays and Saturdays. And then twitch.tv/thattellestguy is where you can see us live and chat with us like Matt just did while we're doing interviews and talking all kinds of goofy stuff and doing the maps.
I do good.
You did really good. High five.
Cool.
High five. Who's a
Thanks
good
for
interviewer?
being on my show.
And that'll do it. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll miss you.